to introduce Black Cat Dungeon Masters Familiar version 2. We're just going to introduce it. We're not going to talk about statistics, integration, export, modding, maps, importing content, all of these advanced features. Um, if you're watching this video, you should just check to make sure that it hasn't been updated for a newer version of Black Cat. This particular version is just Black Cat version 2. And this is mid 2020. Okay, so I've now installed Black Cat, and I'm going to create a new campaign, and we're just going to let's call it demo. Okay, and I'm using 5th edition D&D, and I'm going to just press create here. Okay, and what we see is we've got some documentations popped up in a web browser. And back to the application, we've got some tabs. We've got this welcome screen with a bit of documentation, optional rules. Now these are rules which are non-standard. So by default, everything is not ticked. But if I want these particular rules, sure, I can tick something. For example, drink a potion as a bonus action, or apply 1 level of exhaustion after healing from 0 hit points. Later versions of Black Cat will introduce more optional rules. Okay, now before we go full in, let's just have a quick look at preferences. Color scheme, the default color scheme, if you don't like it, choose a different one. So we've got all these different possibilities. Let's go for this one, say. Application preferences. These apply to these apply to the user interface of the application. A good one to tick would be this one. Check for a new version upon startup. And the others, well, investigate later. Okay, so I'm just going to save that. And we're ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new player. And this player name we'll call him Angus. Now this is the actual person playing. This is not the character. This is the person playing, real person. And this person is going to have an email address. I'm not going to put it in now. Potentially a Discord webhook. And you can type other stuff if you want to. I don't know what else you might want to type. For example, mobile number, something like that. Okay, so let's save that. And for this demo, we're going to have 2 players. So we've got 1 player there. If we search, we can find it. Fine. Okay. And we're going to create another player. And this second player we'll call Anna. And again, we might have an email address. So at gmail.com. Discord webhook, we're not going to worry about any of that just now. Okay, so now we've got 2 players. There they are. Now these are the real people playing. Okay. And now we're going to create some characters. So to create a character, we're going to go here. Role character, this link. Now we can choose lots of different ways of creating a standard array. So if you've created a character outside of the application and you want to just import it, you might want to choose assign manually. Okay, and that's going to just let us put in these scores. Okay, let's not do that. Um, we might want to use fixed values, or we might want to just let Black Cat roll for us. So this one is using a standard scheme 4d6 minus the lowest roll, and that's given us this. Okay, now for this first character, we're going to assign this character to this player, Angus, and we'll call the character um, Fred the Fighter. Okay, now we want to probably rearrange some of these scores. Doesn't need a high intelligence. Let's kind of drag that intelligence to the dexterity to swap them around. So I'm going to left click and holding my mouse button down, I'm just going to drag. Okay, I'm happy with that. And let's put that charisma on. Wisdom same. Let's just flip some of these around. Good. Let's put that 17 on strength. So now we've got a pretty strong fighter. And this is just a human. Um, okay, let's make him a dwarf, say. Um, so what kind of dwarf? So we've got a hill dwarf. And this hill dwarf, that's going to give him that really high constitution. Nice. And we're going to make him a fighter. Good. Okay, so as a first level fighter, we've got proficiencies to saving throws. We've got dark vision because he's a hill dwarf. We've got advantage on poison saving throws, and we've got a resistance to poison damage, and that's all. Most of that's because he's a dwarf. We've also got to choose a fighting style. So let's go with let's go with say defense. That's great. So that gives us a +1 armor class adjustment when wearing armor. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to assign this fighter to the PC adventuring party. There are several reasons why you want to do this. And one of them is to allow, one of them is just for organization. One of them is to allow automatic encounter design. Okay, good. So what else do we see? So going down the character sheet, we're seeing expendable usages. Now, as a first level fighter, you've got nothing fancy. You've just got your hit dice, which may be restored after a long rest, and we've got second wind, which may be restored after a short or long rest. Okay, so let's just save that. Well, the other thing we've got is skills. So he's a fighter, so let's choose a soldier background, and that's going to give us athletics and intimidation down here as skills. He's got proficiency in weapons and armor. Speaks common and dwarvish. Fine. We'll choose 2 more skills. Let's get, say, perception is nice, and animal handling, say. And we're going to assign some equipment. So let's get, say, a chainmail shirt. So if I start typing, I see it there. Chainmail shirt near the top. And that appears in his carried equipment. Now to wear it, we're just going to drag it. So we're going to drag it by left button down, drag, 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 drag to worn on torso. Okay, and let's grab some weapons. Let's get, say, our battle axe, hand axe, um, and maybe a backpack. And we could add as much equipment as we like here. So you could go through the player's handbook and you could choose the equipment appropriate to that class. And you can put things inside the backpack, so let's just do that. So let's grab some food, some rations maybe, um, and we'll put that inside the backpack. Okay, so let's save that. And that's that character done. Okay, so I'm going to press that now. Okay, and now we're back to the campaign dashboard. And what we've got now appearing as a second panel, we've got this quick links panel, and that's giving us links to the, the PC Adventuring Party and the player character. So if I click on this one, band, the PC Adventuring Party, I now see Fred the Fighter. Okay, good. Let's create another character. And this one, well, let's choose fixed values. Okay, this one let's choose. Let's make it a wizard, and it's gonna be say an elf, or well, let's go for high elf will do. Okay, so for a high elf, we want for a wizard we want high intelligence. What else do we want? Want good dexterity. Sorry, good dexterity. So let's put that there. We want good constitution, maybe. We don't care so much about the others. So let's put the 10 on strength, say, 8 on charisma, happy about that. Now this is going to be a wizard. And the player is going to be our second player. So let's call him Willie the Wizard. Okay, and we're also going to assign this wizard to the adventuring party. Okay, good. So now when we see our special abilities, we've got a charm saving throw advantage as a high elf, dark vision 60 feet. We're going to add the character's intelligence modifier to spell attack, roll, and difficulty class. So that's just a wizard feature. So that's fine. Okay. We've got our armor class here of 13. That's because of that high dexterity. Okay, good. This is looking fine. So now we're going to choose a background. Let's go for, say, well, for a wizard, let's say Sage. And that you can see some skills update there. Okay, so let's save that and see what we've got. Okay, oh well, now we need to just choose some skills. So good wizard skills. Let's go for insight and investigation. Let's choose some languages, anything. Okay. And let's assign some cantrips. Okay, so let's grab acid splash. Um, and last one, anything. Um, Firebolt. And for spells, well, we'll grab some equipment. So the first thing we want, let's say we grab a staff. We're going to carry that in our hands. We might want a backpack and a spell book. And let's put the spell book in the backpack, say. All right, so how's that looking? So let's save that. Okay, now we'll assign some spells to the spell book. These could be anything. So, um, so let's grab some first level spells. So I've set the spell level to 1. The first spell I want is Shield. I click on Spellbook again, add a new spell. This is a bit slow. And the next spell, I'll grab Magic Missile. Let's go for Sleep and Mage Armor. Sleep. And last one. First level spell called Mage Armor somewhere. Good. Okay, that's great. Now, the one thing we're missing, we haven't prepared these spells. So let's just do that. Mage Armor, Shield, Magic Missile, Sleep. If this is a real game, you might get more spells in your spellbook. So whatever the DM thinks. Okay. And that looks pretty much ready. I mean, we might want to assign some more equipment. So maybe some rations, which we'll chuck in the backpack. Maybe we want something like a dagger. But this is looking good. Okay. So, alignment. Let's go an elf. That's fine. All right. So, I'll close that. And now when we go to the PC Adventuring Party, we see that wizard's there as well. And if we go to the campaign dashboard, on the quick links panel, Willie the Wizard has also appeared. Okay, so I'm going to close all these other tabs now. I'm going to right click on campaign, and I'm just going to go close all but this. Okay, great. So now we're ready to play. Okay. Now, say the first thing the characters need to do is they're going along, and for whatever reason, we need to do some kind of skill check. Okay, so if I say select both of these, I'm going to right click, and we've got all these different options. And one of them here, right at the bottom, they're in alphabetical order. One of them is skill check. So if I go to skill check, and let's say it's going to be a perception check. Okay. So they're both going to do it. And you see Black Cat here is calculating the correct modifiers. So they're both proficient, so they both get a +2. The wizard gets +1 for wisdom. The fighter gets a +2 for wisdom. Okay. And if I roll, that's going to tell me the outcome here. Both of them passed. So the 18 passed, the 12 passed. Maybe we can change the difficulty class of the check. So let's make that a 15. And if it's a 15, well, they still both passed in this case. And if I resolve that, then Black Cat keeps track of things like which checks were passed, which failed. Okay, what are other things we might want to do? We might want to do a short rest. Now, in this case, there's no advantage in resting. Everyone's on full everything, and the same with the long rest. Okay. We might want to award some experience points, so let's just do that, and let's just award them for now. Let's just award 50, say. Okay. And now something more interesting. let's design an encounter. So from the campaign dashboard, click on here. We're going to click on Design Encounter. Now, Black Cat knows there is only one band with player characters in it. Okay, so the player band is this one. Potentially, if your player character is split up, you might have two or more bands, in which case you could select one. Let's select the difficulty of the encounter and let's go hard. Okay. Now, Black Cat's calculating the party experience point threshold here is 150. Environment, let's say we're in a forest. The type of monster, well, we could select anything here, but we could narrow it down by selecting, say, humanoid. And for a hard encounter, let's get 2 goblins. I was saying that's slightly too many for a hard encounter. All right. Are we happy with that? Maybe we are. Let's see what a deadly encounter would be. So a deadly encounter, we're looking at 2 goblins. That's a deadly encounter. Okay, well let's go with that. We're going to generate this encounter. Press that, and that's going to create us a band containing 2 goblins. The name of the band is 2 Goblins Deadly Encounter. If I select one of these guys, I'm going to right click the mouse and edit. Okay, and that shows me the character sheet for this goblin. And what I see here, it's created a name for him. These scores are straight from the player's handbook, monster manual, or well, actually Dungeons and Dragons basic rules. He's got some equipment here, short bow, scimitar. So Black Cat's automatically created this monster. Okay, and if we go to back to the dashboard, we've got a link here, combat. So we're going to press that now. And that takes us to this combat management screen. Now, there's not a lot on it yet until we start battle. Okay, now right now, this is an empty battle. Nobody's involved. There are no combatants. So we're going to add combatants. We could add them individually with add character, or we could add the entire PC adventuring party in one go. One button click there. So let's do that. So that's Fred and Willie. And we could add an existing band with this button. Okay, and that's going to find us these 2 goblins. Okay, and that's all we want for this particular battle. There's nobody else involved, just these 2 goblins. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we could roll initiative. Now that's going to let Black Cat roll everybody's initiative automatically. But most players don't want to do that. Most players want to roll the dice themselves. So we're going to do that. Enter initiative, and we're going to put in we're going to put in numbers that the players roll. So say Angus rolls a 10, and Willie rolls a 4. We can resolve that. And we could we could put in numbers for the monsters as well, but generally we'd just let Black Cat do that for us as a DM. Okay, so let's press resolve, and we see their initiatives there. And Black Cat has automatically worked out the adjustment, and for these 2 characters, that's going to be just based on their dexterity. For For certain other classes, subclasses at particular levels, there'll be other things involved. For example, a Gloomstalker will add wisdom modifier, that kind of thing. But for these two characters, that's just coming straight from their dexterity, that adjustment, and that calculates an action initiative value for these two. Okay, now let's go for the goblins. We're going to roll initiative, and in this case, um, Black Cat knows the adjustment for the goblins, and that's resolved that to be their actual initiative. Okay, so the goblins go first. Let's make, let's choose the first action for this first one. Okay, now the creeper quick croc this goblin here. So he is starting off with his 30 feet of movement. He's holding a scimitar and a short bow. So Black Cat doesn't know or care about combat maps. That's something you're either going to do around a tabletop, or alternatively on the internet, you're going to have to use something like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds to keep track of where people are, how far apart they are, or for small battles that might be just be um, that might just be on paper by DM description. You do that however you like. Black Cat doesn't care about that. For this particular battle, let's say that the battle starts um, at 20 feet range, and these two goblins don't want to charge in straight away. They want to use short bows. Okay, now Black Hat has automatically chosen a target here for this first goblin, and this is random. However, Black Cat knows that the two goblins, because they're in the same band, Black Cat knows that these two goblins are allied. So they're not going to target each other. Okay, so here are our two targets, and it's chosen Fred. Okay, now it knows the attack adjustment is a +4. Knows the defender armor class is a 16, and it's telling us how it's calculated it. So that's +13 for his chainmail shirt, +1 defense, and that was the fighting style, and +2 dexterity modifier. Okay, so let's roll an attack. Now, there is an application option to roll these d20s automatically, just to save you time as DM. Once you're used to Black Cat, you probably want to turn that on just because it's faster. Maybe you want to roll the die on the table so the players can see. In which case, sure, leave it off, and you're going to type in the number that you roll here. So, but for the demo, let's just let Black Cat roll it for us, and Black Cat rolls a 10. 10 plus 4 is 14. Defender armor class 16, so that results in a miss. And Fred the Fighter hit points remain at 14. So resolve. Okay, and now this goblin has got a bonus action. Okay, and the bonus action could be disengage, could be hide, or it could be or we might do nothing. So let's hide in this case. So he's going to do a stealth check, and we need to roll that. He rolls an 8 for his stealth check. Fine. Okay, next goblin. Next goblin is also, this goblin is attacking Woody the Wizard. Okay, so again, let's roll that attack. 8 misses. Okay, just to demonstrate the shield spell, let's say instead of this, he rolled a 11. Okay, and it should be a short bow attack. Okay, all right. So this would result in 8 damage, taking Willy the Wizard down to -1 hit points. But Willie the Wizard gets a reaction to this attack. And because Willie knows the shield spell, Black Cat can resolve this automatically. So if Willie wants to cast the shield spell, let's do this. Willie the Wizard casts shield reaction spell. So that's going to tell us Willie the Wizard is subject to shield for 1 round. Press OK. And now we see Willie's armor class has increased to 18. So let's see the breakdown of the armor class. Plus 10 is the default. Plus 3 dexterity, plus 5 shield. Now, we could have cast mage armor first, in which case this would have been I expect it would have been a 20 armor class. But that's fine. So this shield spell cast has turned this short bow attack from a hit into a miss. And Willie lives to fight another day. Okay, resolve. And this particular goblin, he's going to do nothing. He's going to stand there and wait to be attacked. Okay, now Fred, he's going to charge forward. Now, if we look at the top here, both his hands are free. He has axes. He has 2 axes, but they are both they are both sheathed. So the first thing he needs to do before he can attack, he needs to rip out his battle axe. And the reason Black Cat does this is because, strictly speaking, according to the rules, characters get 1 free object interaction, and dropping weapons, that's free. But Black Cat wants to keep track of which weapons are in a character's hands, because sheathing a sword, putting your bow away, that takes time, and you can't sheath your sword, rip out your bow, and attack with your bow all in one action. So that's why Black Cat needs to keep track of this kind of thing. Okay, so he's going to draw out his axe, and he's going to let's resolve that first. Accept. Okay, and now he's holding his battle axe, and now we're going to attack. And he's going to take his battle axe. He's going to attack. Let's roll that, and a 6. Unfortunately for Fred, we know his attack adjustment, so that's plus 3 strength, plus 2 proficiency. The goblin's armor class is 15. That comes to 11. That misses. Okay, now Willie, he sees that happen, and he's got a lot of options. So he's got some spells. He could do an attack roll spell like Firebolt. Okay. He's got other attack options here. He could use run and use a quarterstaff. He's not going to do that. He's got something more reliable than Firebolt, would be Magic Missile. He's also got Sleep, but let's go with Magic Missile. He's going to cast Magic Missile. Now that gives him 3 attacks, and we've got to distribute these attacks between the 2 potential targets. Okay, note that Fred here is not one of the potential targets. Black Cat knows that Willie doesn't want to attack his own ally. Okay, so let's go for the sake of argument. Let's put 2 of these magic missiles on Quick Finger the Goblin, and 1 of them on the Creeper the Goblin. Okay, we can now roll the damage. And again, one of the options for Black Cat is to roll all of these dice, including damage dice, automatically, just to save you time. But that's up to you as a DM. Okay, now this first magic missile, that's doing 5 damage. So 2d4 plus 2. That resulted in only 5. The third magic missile, 1d4 plus 1, must have rolled a 3. That came to a 4. That's 4 damage, and that's going to be enough to take down the creeper. So let's press resolve. And what we see now, if we go back to this combat grid, we see this first goblin is dead. The second one has fallen from 9 hit points to 4 hit points. These hit points were rolled automatically by Black Cat. Okay, so by default, Black Cat doesn't use the average hit points for a monster. It uses it rolls for each monster. Okay, now this one, he's got a short bow, so he's gonna. Monsters don't have to. They don't have to. Um, he's holding both weapons there, and he's gonna attack Fred now with his scimitars. Fred has run forward. Okay, so let's see what happens. He's missed. Okay, so let's put this up to an 18 so that he hits. Okay, because I'm a DM and I can fudge rolls if I like. Um, okay, and that's hitting Fred now with an adjusted attack roll of 22. Um, and that's doing d6 plus 2 damage. Black Cat has rolled that for us automatically and obviously rolled a 2 because 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 damage. That's going to see Fred fall from 14 to 10 hit points. Let's resolve that. And this goblin is now going to disengage and probably try to run. Okay. Fred, this goblin's running away from him. Fred's pretty slow. He can only move 25. Okay. So what Fred's going to do now, Fred's going to drop his battle axe. He's going to draw out his hand axe. And he's going to throw it. He's going to throw it at this fleeing goblin. So let's see what happens. 13. Okay, so he managed to hit him. Black Cat's rolling the damage automatically. But maybe your players will probably roll damage themselves, in which case, say the player rolls 5, you're going to just go 5 plus 2 is Black Cat's telling you what you're going to add. Um, the player rolled a 5 on the d6, so you're going to put in 7. 7, and that's going to take this goblin down to minus 3 hit points. That goblin's dead. Okay. Now, Fred's injured. So what Fred is going to do, Fred's going to use Second Wind, which is a fighter ability, first level fighter ability. And he's going to roll hit points to recover. So it's going to be D10 plus fighter level, first level fighter, D10 plus 1. And the D10 roll is 8. But, this is a player character, probably wants to roll himself. Okay, so he's going to roll 8 hit points. And that's going to see him back up to full strength. Okay, so these 2 goblins are dead. Let's end the battle. And some equipment was dropped in this battle. Fred dropped a battle axe. So what Fred's going to do now is he's going to take the hand axe in his hands. He's going to put that. He's going to put that. He's going to sheath that hand axe, and he's going to pick up the battle axe. So what I would do as a DM, Black Cat keeps track of what equipment's been dropped, and this pops up. This pops up automatically when the battle ends. So I would tell the players. I would remind the players that they've dropped equipment, and then depending on what else is happening, like maybe they haven't got time, but if there is time, they're probably going to pick that up. Now, these 2 goblins don't have any treasure, but they do have some weapons. So maybe Fred decides he's going to take one of these short bows. As a DM, maybe you tell him the short bow's not good enough it's not worth bothering with, it's not good enough to use. But if you allow it, fine, he's going to take one of these short bows and he's going to put that in his carried equipment. Um, Now, notice Black Cat's automatically keeping track of weight. These weights are in pounds. And there's a scimitar. Maybe he wants a scimitar as well. Um, Willie's not proficient with either of these, but maybe he just takes one. And maybe they've got a whole lot of treasure which they're going to take as well. In which case, you just left click here, left click on the thing you want to take, and you're just going to drag it to where you want to put it. Okay, great. So let's click OK. And when I hover over OK, it's telling me for whom the equipment has changed. And in this case, it's all four of them. The other thing I want to do after a battle is I want to maybe award experience points. Now, Black Cat knows automatically what the experience point value of these defeated enemies would be. And it's going to distribute these experience points equally between the player characters. I can override this. I can type in a different amount if I want to. Say I decide they acted really well. I want to add a bit more, so I'm going to go 75. Or maybe I can I decide. See if I typed in 75 there, that's updating for both. Maybe I just want to do that for one of them. Maybe I go um, actually I liked what Willie did, so I'm going to put Fred's back to 50. And I'm awarding 25 extra for Willie. Okay, good. So I'm going to press award. And now if I edit the character sheet for Willie, so I'm going to right click on Willie. I'm going to go edit. I can see his experience has gone up to 125 and next level is 175. Okay, so that's an overview of combat. Let's let's go to the adventuring party now, and let's apply. Let's say they have a short rest. Now they're not injured, so let's say they have been injured. Let's take off a hit point here. So we're going to remove a single hit point from Willie, and for Fred, let's edit Fred, and let's set his hit points to. He's been injured somehow. He's got 10 hit points. Okay, now let's apply a short rest. Okay, so with a short rest, Fred is now going to heal hit points. He's going to use hit dice to heal hit points. He's only got one hit dice. So he's going to, let's press that one. He's going to roll his d10. And he's going to add +3. Now, let's make that wider so we can see the whole message. Use hit dice +3 constitution to heal hit points. All right, so if I roll a 9, that's going to heal up to 12 hit points. That's going to, up to the maximum, so it's going to put him back to 14. Now, if I rolled a 1, well, 1's still going to get him up to 14, so in this case, it's not going to matter. He's up to full. Okay, Willie the Wizard, same. He can, well, he was only one hit point down. So what Black Cat's done there automatically, it hasn't made me roll. It just knows. It just knows that Willie's up to full hit points. The other thing Willie's going to do, Fred the Fighter remaining second wind usages is restored from 0 to 1. So Fred the Fighter's got his second wind back. Willie the Wizard, he's going to use Arcane Recovery. Now, this is in this case, Black Cat knows exactly what to do because Willie can only recover first level slots. If Willie was a higher level wizard, Black Cat would be asking us which slots Willie wants to recover. But for a low level wizard, this is going to be automatically. So that's resolved automatically, and we can close that. And now if we look at Willie the Wizard at his character sheet, we see his remaining arcane recovery usages has fallen from 1 to 0. His hit dice has fallen from 1 to 0, but hit points back up to 7, and spells down here, um, first level spells, he burnt both his spells, but they're now back up to 1. So he spent 1 spell on Magic Missile, 1 spell on Shield. First level spells are now back up to 1. Okay, so let's close that. The last thing we're going to have a quick look at is campaign management. Okay, so Black Cat keeps track of characters in combat, does encounter design. Other useful things it does, it allows you to create a hierarchy of locations. So let's have a look at that now. Um, okay, it's created some default locations for us. These are really just example locations. Okay, so there's a world. Inside the world is a continent. Inside the continent is a country. Inside the country is a region. And inside the region, a town. And let's edit the town and give it a new name. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to change the name of the town to West Calder, say. Okay. Okay, save that. And within the town, let's create a new location. So I'm going to add child location, and I'll call it let's go something like the Red Dragon Inn. Okay. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing that's child location. If I click on this, we're now in the Red Dragon Inn, and that's telling us sublocation of West Calder. Fine. And within the Red Dragon Inn, maybe there's another location. So let's go create another child location, and we'll call it guest room upstairs. Okay. So now, if I go back to search locations, we're going to see the Red Dragon Inn in the town. We're going to see the guest room upstairs. And another thing worthwhile saying is let's create somewhere different, and we'll call it the temple. The temple. Okay. Now, I've created this temple inside the region. Now, if I want to move this temple to inside the town, I'm just going to left click, holding the mouse button down, and just drag it. Okay, and now it's moved it. It's moved it into the town. If I go into the town, I see the 2 child locations. That would be the inn and the temple. Okay, so Black Cat doesn't care about your maps, but it allows you to organize locations, type notes about the locations. So in the Red Dragon Inn, I can type some notes. So here is my player description, and in here are my private dungeon master notes. Okay. Black Cat allows you to search all this. So if I type some text here, I can search for it. and it lasts forever. You know, it's the Dungeon Master's way of organizing notes by location. Okay. Um, Now the other thing I can do, I can assign. So I've gone to the PC Adventuring Party band here, and I can assign a location. And let's assign. Right now they're back at the Red Dragon Inn. Okay. And if I go back to the Red Dragon Inn, and I can get that from my quick links now because that's what I've been working on recently. I can see characters at this location. I can see the player characters are at this location right now. Likewise, from the band, I can navigate directly to the Red Dragon Inn by just pressing on this. So Black Cat links everything in the campaign together. It links characters to locations. Likewise, uh, likewise, we can create story components. So our first, the story components are a hierarchical way to organize notes for your campaign, um, um, based on based around the plot rather than locations. So let's call our first top level story component sessions. Okay, and within sessions, we're going to have session session one, session one, and within session one, we'll say the first thing I expect to happen in session one. Okay. Uh, okay, so this could be here's a better one. Goblin ambush. Right? That's the first thing I expected to happen in session one. Okay. So let's go back to here. I'm gonna right click here, close all but this, and I can now search my story components and I see sessions. Within sessions, I've got session one. The first thing I expect to happen in session one is the goblin ambush. And if I went to design encounter and I created exactly the same kind of encounter, two goblins generate. Okay, and we'll call this one, we'll just give it a name like session one goblin ambush. Okay, now from my story components, I can link this band. Okay, so I'm going to go from links. I'm going to click on band. I'm going to click on session one goblin ambush. And what we're seeing now is we've linked the band to this thing that I expect to happen in the campaign. And that shows us the characters there, and it shows us how we got to it, the band link. Okay, so I would use story components to organize all of my plot notes. The other thing worth looking at, very, very similar, organizations. So organizations are just social organizations within the campaign. And very similar to story components, which are basically just plot points. Organizations allow us to link bands, link characters, link locations. So the general idea of Black Cat is to just link everything in the campaign together so that things can be automated as much as possible and everything is to hand. Okay, so here's an example. Um, uh, Top level organization. Let's go crime gangs in the big city. Okay, and within crime back gangs in the big city, let's add an organization. Um, and it could be this one, the Red Cloak Mafia. Okay, um, and if I within the Red Cloak Mafia, um, maybe they're linked somehow to the Session One Goblin Ambush. Like, okay, so I can link that, and now I can see characters linked somehow to this organization. Okay, now this becomes really useful once your campaign gets to 10, 20 sessions. Okay, so there is a lot more to Black Cat. I hope that's given you an overview. There will be more videos of this kind. There will be more Black Cat tutorial videos looking at more advanced features. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that.